Welcome to the Puget Sound Underground's new show called R.A.I.N. We're here to broadcast good news and inspire positive change in the community. R.A.I.N is real people, awesome stories, inspiring narratives, and news so good you'd think it was funded by viewers like you. On today's episode, Baby Orcas. We host a community roundtable, and we find a bus full of food for those in need. This is what we do. Let's make it rain. A teenager in Woodinville is making a big impact while pursuing the biggest dream of all, entrepreneurship. With a podcast in one hand and a heart to pay it forward in the other, Zane Patel realized the pandemic that gave him the time to follow his dreams also left others without food on the table. Zane's podcast, named Foundations, interviews guests to discuss innovation, leadership, and building your story. It wasn't long before the podcast turned up sponsors and donors. With a mission to donate every dollar, he turned to Feeding America, a program that feeds 4.3 billion meals a year across the country. As of a month ago, Zane's podcast donated 580 meals to the program. We tip our hat to Zane and applaud his drive and his heart. If you'd like to support Zane, check out his show by following the link in the description below. In the face of several threats, a second baby orca has been born this month. And it's a boy. 2 births in 1 month is so rare for this endangered species and worthy of celebration. Customers on an Orca Spirit Adventures boat tour were treated to a front row seat to the action and reported the baby to be alive and boisterous. Can you imagine seeing such a thing in person? What a wild experience. This addition to the J-Pod brings the southern resident total count up to 74 killer whales. Did you know that we can have a positive impact on orca population? Funding salmon recovery, reducing pollution, and supporting environmental protection programs are just some of the impacts that you can have on orca populations. Small business in the Puget Sound has had a very bumpy 2020. Some have been forced to adapt, others forced to close their doors for good. Small business is the beating heart of any community, and I love seeing owners and team members going above and beyond to pour good into their community. Today, we're highlighting a restaurant that's a staple to the Fern Hill community. Ranked in the top 100 by Forbes and Yelp, Sean Tibbetts turns out 5-star masterpieces with a kitchen no bigger than your walk-in closet. But it's Sean's incessant dedication to this community that's always stood out to me. Serving in several capacities, from school cooking programs to feeding thousands in need during the holidays. If you go, I highly recommend the Lobster Bomb. Trust me, it's an experience. Check out the full menu in the link below. And keep up the great work, Tibbetts. Over a 2-day period, we took our community roundtable to downtown Tacoma, right outside the Pantages Theater. We met with community members and leaders from all over the Puget Sound. We captured some inspiring thoughts on what great communities look like and what we can do to improve communities we belong to. Let's check it out. So you were walking around downtown Tacoma today. I'm real curious, especially being that you're in the Hilltop area, which is a really, that's an up and coming community for sure. What do you think makes a good community?
Good neighbors.
Good neighbors, yeah, absolutely.
I think just friendship is the beginning of a good relationship.
Oh, that's so powerful. I could not agree with you more. What's something that you think a community could do to benefit the whole group instead of just one individual?
Tear down the factions and the things that make people able to put walls up against each other.
Do you think music plays a role in community?
Yes, I do. It draws people. It's very positive. I commend all of you for being here and even doing this.
Thank you.
Because everybody should have a right to say something.
Definitely.
We all have feelings, and if we just try to remember the feelings that they might have, it might make it easier to make a friend.
Do you think that there's a lot of good to talk about in the world right now? I mean, obviously there's a lot of bad, but do you think that good does exist?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I think some of the good is right here.
This story takes us to Shelby, Indiana, where we find selfless acts in motion at a 5K invitational. After a fellow student rolls its ankle just a half mile to the finish line, Axel Ailman lent a supporting hand to get him across the finish line, which they amazingly did. Axel even let the injured runner cross the finish line first. Axel, we salute your sportsmanship and your character. Keep up the great work. I'm very excited to announce the final segment of today's episode, a special guest interview with Kwabi, founder of the Peace Bus. The Peace Bus is taking the idea of peace to all new levels, while also bringing a much-needed education spotlight on the poverty issues that plague our world. They were most recently recognized for feeding over 350 families over the greater Tacoma area who relied on the school system for food. Now, on a mission to teach and inspire kids to make the world a better place, Kwabi is working on a TV show that rivals Mr. Rogers. Here to talk about peace and how to turn an idea into something tangible is the man himself, Kwabi.
What's going on, James? I want to thank you for having me on the show, and I'm definitely down to talk about peace and talk about the Peace Bus and what we're doing.
That's what I'm talking about, man. I say we dive right in. I know we've got a lot to talk about in just a short amount of time, so why don't we start with your definition of peace from the perspective of the Peace Bus? What is peace, man?
Well, yeah, so I've traveled quite a bit, and I go to schools talking to kids about what peace means, and through all this, what I've gathered is that one big fundamental premise of peace is listening, because never in the history of mankind has one been upset at another for listening to them. If people want to go about becoming more peaceful human beings, they will have to be able to listen to their fellow neighbor. Along with that is creating a society where most people, if not everyone, has the means towards food, clothes, and shelter. Now, you can't go about living a peaceful life, James, if you don't have your essential needs met. How can you go about having a sense of calm and to be able to reflect and to be able to be good towards others if you're not able to eat or to have housing? So I think we really need to look at these subjects and try to figure out how we're going to implement them in our daily lives. I don't consider myself an activist. I'm not going out and having like a sign or whatnot and picketing or whatnot, which is great. Activism is great, but I consider myself a campaigner. I am campaigning for peace just as if someone was to campaign for a political candidate. The idea is if we can promote something like Coca-Cola or something like Toyota or something like that, how come we can't do the same thing for peace, love, and togetherness and try to figure it out together? The idea of the Peace Bus is to create a dialogue around the subject so we can all talk about it and all come up with ideas and move forward in that. You know, I'm not the complete spokesperson for peace. It's something that we're doing together.
I love that.
I'm really excited about your roundtable discussion you got going on later this week. I'm going to be there, man. I'm excited about it, to get the community together, to talk about progression and positivity. I'm really excited for it.
It's going to be really cool, man. I'm excited. We've got some really heavy hitters in the community that are going to be coming with us as well to chat about that. I'm excited to see you there, and we'll talk about that in a further episode. You know, you've been inspired by other people, but you didn't just follow somebody else's lead. You didn't jump onto somebody else's bandwagon. You led. You became a leader, and you created the Peace Bus, which has done some amazing things within our community. What I really want to tell our audience and the people here in the Puget Sound, what about the people who want to have an impact as well? What could you tell them about taking something that was a good idea and making it something tangible like the Peace Bus? How did you go from an idea to the real thing?
Well, I would say for anyone who wants to help in the progression of positivity in their community is to first, when you want to do it, to surround yourself with people who are like-minded. You can't go wrong in that area. And I think oftentimes people feel like they can't do it, or they feel that since they don't know someone who is doing great things that they shouldn't hit them up. Please do it, because oftentimes the people who are out there in the community doing good work, they want to link up with you and they want to get to know you. So don't let that hesitate you from seeking out and reaching out to someone who's doing good work. But for myself, what really got me into creating the Peace Bus and just putting it out there was just faith in humanity, honestly. I mean, I've been on this earth 30 years, and I've seen people do good, and that always inspires me to see people doing good. And I believe that most human beings are innately good. And so with that faith in mind, I persevered and created this Peace Bus. At first, I wanted to be a peace pilot and fly around the world promoting peace. Nice. But flight lessons are really expensive, James.
Yep.
And so I don't have a pilot's license, but I have a driver's license. And that's when I bought the Peace Bus and thought it would be, I could just drive it around and have people look at it and think of peace, maybe look it up on Google or whatnot. And then we started delivering socks, and then it sort of blew up from there.
Right. Yeah, I know your breakfast program really jumped off. I mean, you fed hundreds of families breakfast, man. I mean, props to that. I'm so glad that took off.
Thanks, man. Yeah, 350 families to be exact, roughly. And yes, we were going to have our TV show premiere in March, the Peace Bus TV show, but then COVID hit. Yeah, and then COVID hit. And so I was like, okay, well, we can't have the premiere. We want to make sure that kids are safe. Well, what can I do to serve? And so I often look at the News Tribune website just to see what's going on in the community. And I saw that a lot of families were being affected by the coronavirus due to school closures. A lot of those families who rely on the schools for breakfast and lunch weren't going to be able to get food. Yeah. So I decided to use the Peace Bus and deliver cereal. And I announced it on social media. And then King 5 News, they're like, we want to come to your house and interview you about this breakfast fund you're doing. And then just from then, more and more people were reaching out and delivering cereal. It was an amazing and honorable thing that I'm so honored to be able to serve my community in that way. So it was awesome.
Absolutely incredible, man. What would you say your overall impact in the community has been so far? Do you have a sense of how far your reach has gone?
I didn't really get a big sense of it till I believe it was in June. In June, a newscaster from Japan called me, and she was like, yeah, we heard about you from in Japan, and we wanted to interview with you about your breakfast fund. And I was like, oh my God, how does news travel? Like, it's amazing, man.
You made it. Yeah, that's huge.
You're hearing about me in Japan. But here in the community, I guess I get a good sense of the work that I'm doing with the Peace Bus by just seeing people wave to me, come and talk to me at the supermarket, ask me how I'm doing. I had a gentleman come up to me and they're like, the work that you're doing with the Peace Bus inspired me to reach out to a friend I haven't talked to in a long time to tell them that I love them. Wow. Or that, I had a lady come up to me and say, the work that you're doing with the humanitarian aid inspired me to, buy some groceries every month for people in need and distribute it. Yes. She was like, I think I could do that, but I saw you doing it, so I thought I could do it. So
that's incredible, man. And I can't imagine a better impact than inspiring others to put good into the community, man. That's amazing.
I'm trying, James. I'm trying.
So you've obviously made some really good headway so far. You did mention the TV show. What else is next for the Peace Bus?
What's next for the Peace Bus? We want to get the Peace Bus TV show syndicated. I'm actually in contact with PBS, local PBS, KBTC, and they're screening the show, the pilot, right now. And so we'll see what can happen. Yeah, it's pretty
That's
nuts.
Amazing.
It's pretty nuts. Yes. And so I'm excited about that. The whole team is excited about that. But along with the show, we will never stop doing humanitarian aid. It's a vital part. Yes, we want to have a dialogue and discussion about peace and what it means. But along with that, we can't separate that from giving, loving, and sharing. And so we are continuously figuring out where we can plug into the community and help give. And this Christmas, we got some big things coming up. I don't want to fully announce it yet, but there's going to be a Santa sleigh. I don't want to say too much, but we're going to be doing some giving. We're going to be doing a lot of giving this Christmas time coming up.
Man, I got to say, from Puget Sound Underground and R.A.I.N, we tip our hat to you, man. You are doing some amazing things to just pour love and good into your community, and we can't respect that and appreciate that more. tell the people where we can find out more about you and the Peace Bus.
Yes, if you want to learn about the Peace Bus, please check out our website, thepeacebus.org. Please follow us on Instagram. Instagram's a great way to follow the Peace Bus, and that's just at the Peace Bus. And then also add me on Facebook. My name's Kwabi, Kwabi. My last name is Amoah-Forson, and I'll see you guys online.
Thank you for watching this episode with us. We hope you had as much fun as we did. And also, thank you to the people who were in our episode who gave us a reason to spread good news in the first place. Thank you for putting good into your community, and keep that up. You can find us on our YouTube channel or also our Facebook page. You can just search for the Puget Sound Underground. Also, if you have newsworthy good news, whether it be pictures, videos, articles, or anything like that, you can send it to R.A.I.N at PugetSoundUnderground.com, or you can message us directly through Facebook. We look forward to spreading good news on the next episode. We'll see you then.